وعليكم السلام.
الله وبركاته.
أشهد أن لا أشهد أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله فاطر السماوات والأرض، جاعل الملائكة رسلا أولي أجنحة مثنى وثلاث ورباع يزيد في الخلق ما يشاء، إن الله على كل شيء قدير. ما يفتح الله للناس من رحمة فلا ممسك لها، وما يمسك فلا مرسل له من بعده، وهو العزيز الحكيم. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدًا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته، وعنا معهم برحمتك وفضلك يا أرحم الراحمين ويا أكرم الأكرمين. All praise belong to Allah, Lord of the worlds. I bear witness that there is no deity or anyone worthy of worship except Allah, one and only. He has no partners, no offspring, no equal. He is our master and creator, and we are his creation and slaves and servants. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I ask Allah to shower his peace, blessings, and mercy upon our dear and beloved Prophet Muhammad, his family, companions, followers, all prophets and messengers of Allah, upon all of us gathered here today, and upon the souls of the brothers and sisters who have passed away in New Zealand. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them the highest level of Jannah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to resurrect them as they are worshipping Him on a Friday. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to heal their hearts, the hearts of their loved ones, the hearts of their children, the hearts of their wives who are now widows, and their husbands who are now widows, and their parents and friends. Brothers and sisters, most of you, if not all of you, are deeply hurt. I am deeply hurt. Seeing and watching the horrific images and videos of an Islamophobic, hateful terrorist who killed and murdered cold-bloodedly people, Muslims that are worshiping Allah on Friday, such as ourselves. Personally, I couldn't sleep. And I can tell you, to say the least, I don't feel like standing to speak. But it is our Friday. And if Muslims lost their lives going to pray, we praise Allah for giving us the security to be able to pray today and still be able to go back to our loved ones. Brothers and sisters, hateful speech is hurtful. It does end up hurting people and killing people and murdering people. Anyone who speaks, they are responsible for everything they say, whether that person is Muslim or non-Muslim. And the higher the responsibility, the more higher a person is in our society, in our politics, in our world, the more responsible they are, because what they say is more effective. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We, and Allah speaks of Himself in the royal plural, have honored the offspring of Adam, all human beings. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَرَزَقْنَاهُمْ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا تَفْضِيلًا. We have honored the offspring of Adam, and we have carried them in land and sea, and we have given them and provided for them from the best of our provisions, and given them precedence over many of our creation in such a beautiful way. Allah honored human beings and human life, the one who gave this life. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he said in his famous Khutbah al-Wada', his famous sermon in Arafat, the holiest day of the year, he said, إِنَّ دِمَاءَكُمْ وَأَمْوَالَكُمْ وَأَعْرَاضَكُمْ حَرَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ كَحُرْمَةِ يَوْمِكُمْ هَذَا فِي بَلَدِكُمْ هَذَا فِي شَهْرِكُمْ هَذَا. The Prophet ﷺ said, your lives are sacred. Your dignity is sacred. Your possessions are sacred. Your property is sacred. The way this day is sacred, which is to Muslims the most sacred day of the year, Arafat. In this sacred place, which is the most sacred place in the world to Muslims, which is Mecca. In this sacred month, which is the month of Dhul Hijjah, one of the sacred months, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam affirmed the dignifying of Muslim and non-Muslim life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم. So Islamophobes try to marginalize Muslims. Islamophobes try to spread fear about Muslims. Islamophobes try to tell the societies whom they are a disease amongst a larger society. Islamophobes, people that spread hatred, whether they're anti-Semites or they are Islamophobes or they try to target any minority, religious or ethnic. Such folks are like a disease in a society. And those folks, what they try to do is, the strategy they use is they try to marginalize and dehumanize and eventually demonize. Let me explain this to you. What they try to do first is marginalize. Say you're not really part of the fabric of society. You're really not American enough. Or you're not American at all. They try to put a particular group to be marginalized. They're not really looking like us. They're not really talking like us. They're not really dressing like us. They're not really eating like us. This is how Islamophobes use. This is Islamophobia 101. Marginalization. When in fact Muslims and minorities in general and Muslims specifically contribute greatly to their societies. They are the highest educated ethnic or religious group perhaps in the country. If not, they come to they're number 2. I believe I read a statistic that was 10% of all physicians, I believe, in the US are Muslims. Some of the highest paying tax brackets are Muslims. Some of the most highly educated people are Muslims. Some of the most hardworking people are Muslims, and minorities for that matter. First thing, marginalization. So the best way to counter that is to make sure that you don't feel internally marginalized. There is no color to America. America is not white or black or brown or whatever. It is all the above, land for all. America is not Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, atheist. America is a place for all. This is the fact that attracted everyone to this land. So number 1, know that you are not inferior to anyone else. Number 2 is dehumanization. Islamophobes will tell everyone that you have a different set of values, that you don't value the same things in life that quote unquote they value. And then they start putting you versus them, us versus them. And this whole trap, you need to not fall into that narrative. Muslims love to eat. Muslims love to celebrate. MashaAllah, they have some of the most beautiful weddings and celebrations, from aqiqahs to weddings to other celebrations. Muslims love to dress nicely, and mashallah, they're right on par with fashion. Muslims love to achieve high achievements in this world, and inshallah in the hereafter. Muslims value family. Muslims value life. Muslims value their neighbors, whether their neighbors are Muslim or non-Muslim. Muslims value education. Muslims are just as human as every other person on this earth. As a matter of fact, their faith emphasizes these values. It's not just because they happen to be. It is actually the core of their faith. So don't allow yourself to fall into the narrative that Muslims are subhuman beings. That's an Islamophobe strategy. Number 3 is demonization. So once they go from marginalizing to dehumanizing, eventually they go to demonizing, making them appear, paint a picture, a false, fabricated, slanderous picture of Muslims, saying that they're evil, that they're wrong, that they're this, that they're that, when in fact the person that's painting this picture is painting what's inside their own psyche. Know that. Let's draw a parallel now. What does Islam say? لا يسخر قوم من قوم. This is in the Holy Quran, the book that is also demonized by Islamophobes, the book of Allah. No group of people should ever belittle another group of people. No group of people should ever ridicule another group of people. Maybe the ones belittled or being ridiculed are better than the ones belittling them. لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء. No group of women should belittle another group of women or ridicule them. عسى أن يكون خيرا منهن. Perhaps the ones belittled are better than the ones belittling them. Yeah, you will see Islamophobia. I was watching the news over the last 2-3 weeks, as you know, all sorts of scandals that are going on in the news. And then someone had the audacity to attack a Muslim representative simply because she has hijab. She mentioned the word hijab on the news, saying she wears a hijab and hijab is this, and they start demonizing, dehumanizing, going through the same steps that I just mentioned. No, oh Muslim women, raise your head up high that you have earned the Nobel, the highest human achievement that by human modern standards, a Muslim lady that wears the hijab from Yemen has achieved it. Another Muslim lady also has gotten it in mathematics, and Muslim men as well. So raise your head up high. No one is better than you, whether they're men or women. لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب. Allah says, do not call each other names or label each other's labels that are belittling. Allah says that. This is the solution to this nasty, divisive atmosphere that we are living in today. Brothers and sisters, our society is looking for solutions, and we have solutions in our Quran. We have it, we just don't know it. We don't realize it because we barely open the book of Allah. Allah says, وَلَا تَنَابَزُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ. Don't call each other names, don't put laqab, don't label each other. Don't label them, they're this, they're that, and putting them in all these different categories and labels. Don't do that. And this is from God, Allah Jalla wa Ala, telling all human beings, don't label each other ethnically, putting each other down. Don't label each other because of income brackets, because of zip codes you live in, because of different political parties you belong to. Don't put each other down. These are the solutions that Allah gave in the Quran. بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان ومن لم يتب. And Allah is giving a warning, if you do not repent and change your ways, فأولئك هم الظالمون. Such are the oppressors and wrongdoers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to be fair-minded. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to please Allah and to treat one another with dignity, the way Allah intended human beings to be dignified. Ask Allah for forgiveness. May He forgive you and I. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Brothers, please come forward. The masjid is full and we need to make some space for those who are leaving. Let me share with you, my dear brothers and sisters, some of the prophetic behavior and traditions. And let's take this and share it with all of our non-Muslim friends. One day the Prophet ﷺ was sitting. A funeral passed by of a non-Muslim who happens to be a Jewish person who had died, and they're going to bury him. And the Prophet ﷺ stood, and this hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. عن سهل بن حنيف وقيس بن سعد رضي الله عنهما, that there was a janazah that passed by, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam stood. They told him, these two Sahaba, O Messenger of Allah, إنها جنازة يهودي. It is a Jewish funeral. Why are you standing? فقال أليست نفسا. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam responded to them, telling him, isn't it a human life? This is how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam responded to people when they tried to question why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam respected this human life, even if it was of a different faith. This is the tradition of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Let me also conclude by saying that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, our beloved messenger, said, إن العبد لا يتكلم بالكلمة من رضوان الله لا يلقي لها بالا يرفعه الله بها درجات علا أو درجات وإن العبد لا يتكلم بالكلمة من سخط الله لا يلقي لها بالا يهوي بها في نار جهنم. We talked about words have value. With a word, we enter into the fold of Islam. With words exchanged, the vows of marriage, people become in the fold of marriage. With words, they make business deals. Words have value. The Prophet ﷺ said, a person may say a word and they're not paying much attention to what they're saying. Because Allah is so pleased with this word that they said, Allah raises them high levels of paradise. And a person may utter a word and he or she are not paying attention to it. And because of Allah's extreme displeasure with it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has them enter into hellfire because of that word. Words matter. And the last thing, the message I'd like to share with my beloved community, Muslims and non. We have many friends that are here supporting us today, just to let you know. Again, Islamophobes like to hijack a narrative and feed you a narrative that you are marginalized. Part of this marginalization, that nobody supports you. That's absolutely false. We have been getting bombardment of phone calls of people supporting us as Muslims. We've gotten emails, Facebook messages. We had the police chief from Westchester come here. Would like to personally, on behalf of myself and our community, thank our law enforcement officers and Westchester Police Department for being here and having a big task force right on site. So to deter any type of terrorist from ever thinking of committing such atrocities. And we'd like to thank all those who are friends of ours that are giving us support today from different churches, different pastors. We've received lots of support as Muslims, and I'd like to share that with you because you don't personally get it. We get it as a center on your behalf. And it's important for us in our duty to share that with you. So you feel that you're not marginalized, truly so. Because I still believe that the vast majority of the people of this country are good people. And we are not going to allow a minority of Islamophobic, hateful, terrible folks to hijack the image and reality of the vast majority of people. The message I'd like to share with you is after watching these terrible atrocities that took place in New Zealand. And before that, 6 Muslims were shot in Canada. And before that, there were, I think, 40 people that were shot in Masjid al-Ibrahimi in Hebron. And before that, so many other instances and incidents that are terrible like this. I'd like to have all of us walk out understanding that we should and must never have any tolerance, zero tolerance for hate and hateful speech. Let me say this again. And I know we've become desensitized. And under the banner of having thick skin, we've become completely desensitized and tolerant for things we shouldn't tolerate. No one should tolerate being demonized or dehumanized or being marginalized in the least of ways. So whenever you watch something or see something or hear something that is nasty and belittling, specifically about Muslims and generally about any other minority, ethnic or religious, roar, verbally roar, write, use your freedom of speech, write that news agency, email them, call them, text them, explain and express to people that represent you how you feel. This is a healthy outlet to make sure that you are heard and no longer are sitting like sheep. And I mean no offense. We have to. If we don't speak, people that are Islamophobic will speak, and their speech is going to result in murders the way we saw that on television yesterday. All it takes for evil to thrive is for good people to be quiet, and I'm quoting someone and paraphrasing it. It is extremely important that we leave today not be sharing another terrible experience, heartbroken and sad, and leave it there. But we must be more reactive in a healthy way. So we don't wait to react to big events such as the one yesterday. No, anytime we see something that is wrong, hear something that is wrong, even if it's slightly wrong, write something to that news agency. Write something to that representative. Write something or call and leave a message. Respectfully, dignified, kind, but make sure that your perspective is heard. That's going to make a huge difference rather than sitting here shedding tears and doing nothing about it. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all the brothers and sisters who have passed away in faith. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give Jannatul Firdaus to all the victims of Christ Church. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them Jannatul Firdaus. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to elevate their status. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive their shortcomings. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to count them amongst martyrs. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make them neighbors in paradise with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to heal the hearts of their loved ones, their children, their widows, their parents, their colleagues and friends. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them strength and faith. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help all of us here walk out as better ambassadors, people that are proactive in the healthiest and most beautiful of ways. I ask Allah to help us always control our emotions and react or act in the most beautiful and dignified and God-pleasing ways. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to eradicate all violence from our societies. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect all houses of worship. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have people that speak peace and kindness and love and prosperity and strong unity and harmony between people. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have them prevail. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to mend the differences we have in our country and society. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help all of us see truth as truth and help us support it and follow it. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us see falsehood as falsehood and help us avoid it. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this event, this very terrible and sad event, an event that helps us improve in ways that please Him Jalla wa Ala. Please, brothers and sisters, keep the victims of New Zealand and all victims in your prayers. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them Jannatul Firdaus. We ask Allah to give shifa to all those who are sick. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect all of our loved ones. Please, before you go, after your prayer, support your masjid. This masjid is only going because of your support. May Allah use you as means to support this house. جزاكم الله خيرا ولكم السلام.